Sir has done his PhD on determination of engineering properties of steel concrete interface of reinforced concrete exposed to marine environment from National Institute of Technology, Karnataka, Surathkal, Mangalore. He is currently working as assistant professor in civil engineering department, College of Engineering, Pune, Maharashtra from September 2019 to till date. He has also worked as a research scholar at National Institute of Technology, Karnataka, Surathkal, Mangalore from July 2015 to September 2019. He worked as an assistant professor in Civil Engineering Department, Mangalore, Institute of Technology and Engineering, Murabidri, Canada from July 2014 to June 2015. He worked as an assistant professor in Civil Engineering Department, Vivekananda College of Engineering and Technology, Puttur, Dakshin, Canada from July 2013 to June 2014. He has published many articles in international journals and done extensive research on microstructure studies on steel concrete interface, corrosion study on reinforced concrete, durability studies on concrete in aggressive environment, production of ultra high performance concrete. So let us begin our today's session on engineering properties of steel concrete interface. I would like to request sir to start the session.
Thank you, ma'am, for a nice introduction. It was too much for me, actually. So let us begin our today's session. Let me share my screen. Shall I share my screen now? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. Fine. In fact, it's good morning to you all, even though the time is 12 plus. As we are meeting for the first time in a day, I should address all the dignitaries as good morning. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak to you guys about engineering properties of steel concrete interface of a reinforced concrete. I changed the title a little bit, so I beg your pardon on that. So what am I discussing here today? So in today's presentation, I would like to speak a little bit about what is steel concrete interface. I'm basically focused on reinforced concrete. So what happens when we mix or fuse two materials? Remember, reinforced concrete is formed by fusing concrete and steel. These are two different materials. When I fuse two different materials, at their interface, there will always be a different region. That region we call them as transition zone. We have seen transition zone in concrete also, as between aggregate and cement based, coarse aggregate, even fine aggregate. So that interfacial transition zone exists even in steel concrete, not just in aggregate cement based, that also exists in reinforced concrete also. So what are the properties? Through this research, we understood that the properties of aggregate cement based interface differs from steel concrete interface. Way back in 1990s or early 2000, people believed that the properties of steel concrete interface and aggregate cement based interface are similar. But through our research, we found out that it is little different. And how it is different and what are the things that we will discuss, that's all we are talking about today, and how to determine the engineering properties of a steel concrete interface. So first, let me discuss what are the things that I'm going to talk today. I'll speak to you about one thing. The first is steel concrete interface, how to determine the engineering properties of steel concrete interface, and what do I mean by engineering properties of steel concrete interface, and few research related works, what happens if the methods that we use for identifying the steel concrete interface. We basically focus on finding out the SEM images, and it's a surface analysis. So what is steel concrete interface? Let me begin with introduction. Steel and concrete are two different materials which are cast or fused together to form reinforced concrete. Okay, so as the word interface refers to a place or area at which different things meet and communicate with or each other. I'm more focused on this part. They affect each other. See here, this is a cut sample. This I took a core of a steel part and I just try to cut. So as you see, this is the steel part and this is the concrete part. Through our normal eyes, if you see the interface, it looks absolutely fine. There are no pores, no, there are no nothing. So few cracks are there. Those cracks are due to cutting misfunctions. So if I observe a particular section in scanning electron microscope, how do I see it? You see actually this way. This is the steel bar, and this is a scanning electron microscope image of secondary electrons. Okay, there are two modes. One is secondary electron mode, and another one is backscattered electron mode. So this image, particular image, is of secondary electron mode. Okay, so this is my steel bar, this is my concrete, and in between that there is a porous region. Okay, so this porous region we are terming that as porous zone between steel and concrete. As you can see, this is a porous zone between steel and concrete. And why this happens actually? If you see here, as these are two different materials, at their interface, there is a phenomenon called, one second, I'll just in this slide, I'll try to show you that. Sorry. Once these steel and concrete, they try to come towards each other because of shearing forces in the cement particles. When they try to touch the surface of steel, they repel, they try to move back. Because of that, there will be fewer cement particles and more amount of water. What happens when there is more amount of water and few cement particles? Obviously, there is more amount of water cement ratio. If there are more amount of water cement ratio, and we know what happens, there will be voids. As the water cement ratio increases, the voids in our concrete increases, and same phenomenon happens here also. The cement particles move away, there will be more amount of water, less amount of cement particles, and once the cement dries, there will be a porous region of this way. And what is the use of finding out this point? What are my intentions of finding out the porous zones? Okay, this interfacial transition zone, where it is applicable. If you see, to understand what is the importance of porous zone, I must explain first how the corrosion happens. Okay, so remember in previous case, I've shown you just one slide here. So same way, I'm trying to show this in an animated way. This is my concrete part. This is my steel part. Just for exaggerating, the porous zone thickness usually varies from 20 to 40 micrometers. I'm talking in terms of micrometers. Please understand that. I hope you can imagine that part. So just for understanding and exaggerating purpose, I've made this porous zone a little bit larger. Okay, so this is my steel. Assume that this is 10 mm, and I've just made it a little larger so that we can understand what is porous zone and what is its importance. See, once the corrosion starts in steel, it does not indicate, once the corrosion initiates, it does not indicate or does not induce expansive pressure straight away. It takes a lot of time. Why it takes a lot of time? Because those corrosion products, they must fill the porous zone thickness first. Then only they can exert expansive pressure. We know once the corrosion starts, corrosion products are very expansive. They expand 6 to 10 times of their volume. If steel is of this particular volume, then the rust products have a capability of expanding 6 times of its volume. So that's why we notice cracks whenever there is excessive corrosion. So this porous region must fill first before it starts exerting expansive pressure. If you see this one, this is steel bar. Once the steel start reducing, the cross-section area of steel reduces due to corrosion. Once that reduces, it starts occupying space in this region, interfacial transition zone. Until and unless this region is completely filled, there will not be any expansive pressure exerted by this corrosion products on my concrete pad. So what is the time which is required to fill this much amount of space? That's the biggest question now. So if you see the service life prediction, let me explain this one. Once the corrosion initiates, until unless the complete porous zone thickness or porous region is filled up, there will not be any expansive pressure. Once it is completely filled, then only it starts exerting expansive pressure and we start noticing the severe cracks like this. There will, after that, there will be spalling and all. Okay, so these figures courtesy of Mr. L. Madve and Sudki. So let me move on with the service life prediction. The basic focus of our study was to define service life in a perfect manner. And what are the I'll be discussing about two-stage model and three-stage model. In way back in 1980s, Tutti has proposed a service life prediction model, which is of two-stage model. The first one is initiation period. He believed that once the corrosion is initiated, soon after that, the propagation starts. So based on that, he proposed this model. This model, we call it as a two-stage model. One is initiation period, one is propagation period. So why the initiation period happens? Because of penetration of carbon dioxide, penetration of chlorides. There can be n number of reasons why the corrosion initiates. Once the corrosion is initiated, to get to the crack, it takes this much of time. So here at this point, the functional service life ends. Whenever we see the cracks on the surface, we assume that the functional service life of that structure ends. And this is the pressure required to cause the corrosion. And what is this pressure? This pressure is directly proportional to the tensile strength of concrete. Once the corrosion product fills the porous zone thickness, it starts exerting the expansive pressure. Once that expansive pressure is more than the tensile strength of concrete, then the cracks will start appearing. So that total period or total time for corrosion initiation to corrosion cracking, we call that as functional service life. And Tutti has divided this functional service life into two stages. One is initiation period and one is propagation period. And people in 1980s, they believed his theory and they started implementing to the existing structures. On the surface, if you take the core and if you start analyzing, we came to know that there is corrosion, but still we are not able to see the cracks on the surface. And people started believing, people started doubting this theory. According to this theory, once the corrosion initiates, there should be corrosion crack within a year or so. But actually, the predicted service life is actually lesser than the service life of that bridge or a structure. Then people started thinking there might be something. After that, Louis and Weyers, they have come up with the three-stage model. In this three-phase model, they have considered the effect of porous zone thickness. Okay, so they believe that there is something happening at the steel concrete interface that we need to identify, and they found out that there is a porous zone thickness. Until and unless that porous zone thickness is completely filled, there will not be any expansive pressure applied on my concrete pad. Because of that, they termed the coin as free expansion or expansion time. So this is the initiation period. After that there is free expansion stage, and after that it is stress built-up stage. So Louis and Weyers, they have divided the two-stage model, or else they have refined the two-stage model into a three-phase model. They have incorporated the incorporated porous zone thickness in their model. And when the people start assuming or predicting the service life, service life was supposed to come very close to the actual service life of the structure. So here we find importance of porous zone thickness. However, in predicting the service life of structure also, people started assuming the porous zone thickness. For example, if you see this distance, as you can see, I guess I can show you in a zoomed mode. See here, this is 600x, and these dots, as you can see, this is a 50 micrometer distance. As you can see, this much distance, it is nearly around 50 micrometers. Okay, until and unless this 50 micrometers is completely filled up, there will not be any expansive pressure on my concrete. So people started assuming the porous zone thickness. In Liu and Weyers in 1990s, they predicted that there is porous zone thickness, but without any experimentation or without any experimental validation, they started assuming this porous zone thickness. What happens then? Okay, so once they start assuming the porous zone thickness, a slight variation, even the assuming that porous zone thickness, leads to huge variation in service life of structures. As you can see, L. Madve and Sudiki in 2007, they have proposed the service life should be determined using this equation. As you can see, this is TCR, total propagation period. They divided the propagation period by considering this delta naught, that is porous zone thickness at steel concrete interface. However, in this case also, they have assumed the porous zone thickness as 10 to 20 micrometers without any experimental validation or experimental verification. In this present study, what we have done, we have experimentally tried to find out that porous zone thickness. Clear? Fine. So if you have any doubts, please interrupt me and you can ask anytime. This is purely a research-based presentation that I'm trying to do. Any doubts are there?
No, sir.
Fine. So what I've done, till now what we have done, we understood that at the steel concrete interface, there is porous zone thickness, and people were assuming that porous zone thickness while predicting the service life. In the present research, what we have done, we have experimentally tried to find out this porous zone thickness. Okay, so from our research, we understood that these are the different factors which affects the properties of steel concrete interface or engineering properties of steel concrete interface. What do I mean by that engineering property? One is the porous zone thickness. Second is what are the different kinds of hydration products which are formed at the steel concrete interface. That is the second part of engineering property. And third part is what is its effect or what is the effect of this porous zone thickness on the bond strength. So these three parameters, I have coined the term as engineering properties. Engineering properties, how this engineering properties varies with respect to different parameters. So we understood that there is these are different parameters which will affect the properties of steel concrete interface. First one is water cement ratio. This is water cement ratio, type and quality of cement, strength of concrete, curing duration, mineral admixtures, amount of compaction, casting direction of concrete, aggregate size, type of reinforcement bar diameter, shape. All these parameters affect our steel concrete interface. If you see if the water cement ratio is more, people have already predicted, and in our study also we came to know that if the water cement ratio is more, there is the porous zone thickness of that kind of interface will be more. The type and quality of cement, that even affects the properties of steel concrete interface. Strength of concrete will also affect M30, M40, M50. Based on that also, some studies have been done. Curing duration, that's also affect the properties of steel concrete interface. Mineral admixtures, amount of compaction, casting direction, aggregate size, all that. So these are the different parameters which will affect. In the present study, we have taken into consideration only two parameters. There are few other parameters, few other researchers have already studied. So in our study, we are only concentrating on type and quality of cement and curing duration. So while making the literature survey, we have understood that there are very few papers which are particularly focusing on steel concrete interface. I'm happy to inform you that from India, me and my guy, Dr. Vibhuti Bhushan Das from NIT Surathkal, we were the first people to contribute to the steel concrete interface from India. So if you see the Scoopus website from India, there are only 3 papers. All 3 papers are ours. So only few papers are available regarding this. This is a thrust area right now. If anybody is interested, you can please continue your research on this part. A lot of things need to be done yet on understanding the steel concrete interface properties. So these are references, Zaid and all. Water cement ratio, filler, and what is the porous zone thickness. So these are some of the literature data. Some people have used silica fume. What will happen if I add silica fume? All of that people have studied. And these are a few other in terms of micrometers, percentage micrometers. So to make that research in a condensed form, these are different researchers that they have studied. They have studied the effect of water cement ratio. Please remember, this is a literature data. This is just, we have compiled the literature data. These are not the data that I have done. This is the data just I'm compiled. So what happens if water cement ratio increases to the porous zone thickness at steel concrete interface? As you can see, all the lines, they are going above. As the water cement ratio increases, the porous zone thickness at steel concrete interface is increasing. Can you see that part? As the water cement ratio increases from 0.4 to 0.5, the porous zone thickness is increasing up to 300 micrometers. Okay, fine. So this is the literature data. Fine. So in this present study, what we have done, we try to investigate the significance of different types of cements. For example, OPC, PPC, and PSC. Nowadays, people are shifting towards PPC and PSC. So we have tried to understand what is the effect of OPC, PPC, and PSC on the engineering properties of steel concrete interface. We have used the characterization technique, scanning electron microscope, energy dispersive X-ray spectroscopy, and nano indentation. Remember, please understand, due to the time constraint, I am not discussing about the nano indentation, but we have even done the nano indentation part to understand the engineering properties of steel concrete interface. What do I mean by engineering properties? One is what is happening to porous zone thickness, what is the effect on the hydration products which are formed at the steel concrete interface, and what is the total influence on the bond strength. So these 3 parameters, I'm converging them and terming them as engineering properties. Second one, to determine the effect of curing duration on compressive strength, ultimate bond strength, and microstructure properties of steel concrete interface produced with OPC, PPC, and PSC concrete. That was the focus of our study. So remember, folks, while doing the scanning electron microscope analysis, the sample preparation plays a very important role. My main focus was on sample preparation. I'll come to that sample preparation in a bit. So this is the experimental methodology that we have adopted, physical and chemical properties of OPC, PPC, and PSC concretes. These are the chemical properties. Remember, OPC has highest specific gravity, PPC is slightly lesser than that, and PSC is very close to OPC concrete. Even if you see the planes fineness, OPC fineness is slightly lesser, PPC slightly higher, and PSC is the most finest cement. So this is the gradation curve for OPC, PPC, PSC, fine aggregate, and coarse aggregates. This is coarse aggregate, fine aggregate, and OPC, PPC, PSC are almost similar, but there is a little bit difference in the planes fineness. So this is the chemical analysis of tap water. In one of the papers, CBA paper, people have asked, reviewers have asked us, does the water properties affect the properties of steel concrete interface? The kind of water that we use for concreting, will that affect the properties of steel concrete interface? So for that reason, people have asked us to put this chemical analysis of water. So we have done the chemical analysis of water, tap water, in fact, which was available in our lab. So it satisfies, and we could classify this water as potable water, right? We have used potable water for producing concrete. So this is the mix design that we have followed. We have tried for M40 grade concrete with the water cement ratio of 0.4, and we have used IS 10262 2009 specification for finding out the mix design, and these are the mix proportions. We have also used super plasticizer 0.5% of cement content to obtain or maintain 75 mm slump. Same mix proportion was followed for production of OPC, PPC and PSC concrete. Okay, now comes the main part. Our objective was to find out the effect of engineering properties of steel wood interface on bond strength. Right. So this is the bond strength sample that we have used. The specifications recommended is in IS 2770/1967 Part 1, which is also reaffirmed in 2007. So this is the sample. Sample size was 10 centimeter by, it's a 10 centimeter cube. We have left a little bit of gap at the bottom. Also, we were focused to study the effect of corrosion on bond properties that are not including here. So same sample we have used. So this is 15 mm, this is 70 mm, and top 15 mm. This yellow part that you are seeing, we have painted the reinforcement bar with 20 micrometer paint. This is a corrosion resistant paint that we have used, as these paint is exposed outside to the environment, as we are very close to marine environment. So we wanted to protect our steel that might affect our engineering properties of steel concrete interface. So we have painted the steel with corrosion resistant paint, and even araldite was applied on the top so that there is absolutely no contact of environment to our bar. So the main purpose of this is to avoid the corrosion of our reinforced bar. Remember that the bar diameter that we have used is 10 mm. In fact, it was 10 mm. This is the schematic representation of sample used for bond strength measurement. The top length we have kept 500 mm because our UTM was very long, so we had to use 500 mm length. So these are the specifications which are mentioned in IS code for testing the bond strength of reinforced concrete. As I mentioned before, sample preparation for ACM analysis is the prime important step to examine the engineering properties of steel concrete interface. This is one of the important parameters in analyzing the properties of steel concrete interface. Totally, we have divided the sample preparation in 4 stages. The first one is sample collection and cutting the specimen. Second one is vacuum impregnation and epoxy drying. Third one is grinding. Fourth one is polishing. These steps ensure a good quality of ACM images in SEM analysis. So what do you mean by that? Remember, as I told you before, we had used RC sample of 10 centimeter. This is the C clamp which we have used to hold this cube in between, and this is the core cutter. And I tried to get the perfect steel concrete sample of this kind. See here, this is the steel and this is the concrete, and the diameter of bar that we have used was around 32 mm. The rod is of 10 mm and the total diameter of this is 32 mm diameter. Why we have restricted ourselves to 32 mm? Our ACM sample holder dimension was maximum it could occupy 35 mm. The diameter that you can imagine that as a carom coin. In the next slide, you'll come to see. See, this is the way that after cutting, you are seeing the samples. This looks like a carom coin. The carom coin diameter is, total diameter is 32 mm. In our case, the sample holder diameter of our ACM was 35 maximum. That's why we had to restrict our sample dimension to 32 mm. Okay, so this is the way you look after taking the core. This is how the steel concrete portion looks like. And after that, if you start cutting the concrete to observe the microstructure using high-speed cutters or low-speed cutters, the concrete would thrash out, or concrete would chip out, in other words. Okay, so to avoid that step, what we have done, we have encased these cores in a PVC pipe, and we have added some rapid hardeners. These rapid hardeners are come in different colors. Usually the best color is white. In our case, we got the pink color. Just to identify that, we have added the rapid hardener, which is in pink color. After that, you go and cut this one, and there will be not much damage to our steel concrete interface properties. So this is one of the important parameter. How do you cut and how do you analyze? That is the most important parameter that we have studied in the present study. We'll discuss that part in the coming slides. So once the sample is ready, the next step is I have to cut. RC sample collection is done. This is how I collected the sample. The next one is I have to cut the specimen. How do I cut? There are two different tools you can use for cutting those. One is this high-speed diamond saw cutter. We have used this high-speed diamond saw cutter, and we have used another low-speed diamond saw cutter also. In most of the journals or papers, people have used high-speed cutters, but in our case, when I use high-speed cutter, there is some disturbance to the engineering properties of steel concrete interface. As I'm cutting this sample, obviously there will be some amount of distortion. Because of that, the porous zone thickness was increasing. To avoid that, we have used even a slow speed precision diamond saw cutter. This is the precision diamond saw cutter supplied by Ducom. See, this is the blade, and here we put our sample. Okay, so to cut the sample, cut these sample in high speed cutter, hardly it takes 8 to 10 seconds in high speed cutters. But in low speed precision diamond saw cutters, it takes around 4 to 5 hours to cut this cross section like this. Okay, so once you cut, this is the way you see the samples after we cut. As you can see, this is the surface that we are seeing, cross section. Okay, this is the PVC pipe, and this pink color, as you are seeing, this is the hardener, rapid hardener, you could say. So this is the another sample. Likewise, you see the steel concrete interface. Once you cut the sample, the next important part is what is the difference between cutting in high speed diamond saw cutter and low speed diamond saw cutter. That part we'll discuss in our coming slides. I'm just discussing here what are the sample preparation techniques before going for SEM analysis. So that we are discussing now. So this is grinding and polishing. Before starting the grinding process, the specimen must be molded with ultra low viscosity epoxy. What do I mean by that? These were inserted in a certain liquid, ultra low viscosity epoxy, so that once I start grinding, the epoxy, whatever it is, it will go and fix in these holes or pores. As you can see here at the interface, we have a lot of pores. I wanted those pores to look bright black in our SEM images, so that's why we use ultra low epoxy. Further, these ultra low epoxy were dried at 3 different temperatures. In the literature, it was mentioned that we have to use 90 degrees Celsius. But in our case, as I went with 90 degrees Celsius, there were some shrinkage cracks that we were observing at the interface. So to reduce those shrinkage cracks, we have gone for 80 degrees Celsius and 60 degrees Celsius also. For grinding the specimen, silicon carbide papers of grade P320, 600 and 1000 were used. For polishing the specimens, diamond paste of particle size 0.25, 0.15 were used. Grinding duration and the grinding polishing pressing force were also studied. So I'll come to those part while I discuss the results and discussion. So this is how the sample looks like. Samples immersed in ISO ready sample for SEM analysis. This is the way you look like. The rapid hardener I've kept intact. The other part we have grinded it out. So as you can see, at around the steel periphery, I have identified 12 locations. So these 12 locations, we call them as 12 spots. At these 12 locations, I have taken the SEM images. This is at one part. This is the SEM images that you are observing at one particular point. For example, at 11th spot, Imagine that I have taken this SEM image. This is my steel. This is the interface. These are the hydration products, and these are some of the sand particles. You may observe a few of the cracks here also. Those cracks are the artifacts of sample preparation technique. As I'm using high-speed cutter, it induces some of the cracks, and also it increases the porous zone thickness. Okay, so to avoid these artifacts, we have used even low-speed diamond saw cutter, precision diamond saw cutters. And what do I see here? As we are using backscattered electron mode, the backscattered electron mode is nothing but it's a black and white photo. The white pixels or white is the grayscale, which has the number, the highest grayscale value for white is 256 and lowest is 0. If it is 0, it's black. If it's 256, it's white. So combination of that is black and white. As you are seeing here, there is some white portion, some gray portion in fact, and there is some black portion. So what do we identify with that? So steel, its gray value is nearly around 255. That means that is why the steel is appearing brighter in the SEM images. Aggregates are somewhere in between 0 to 255. So they appear little grayish even compared to this. So hydration products varies from very close to 0 and very close to 150 or so grayscale. The one important factor here you need to observe here is pores and voids. Pores and voids, they are almost closer to 0. Okay, so now what is happening here? So few portion in the hydration parts, there is the minimum grayscale value is 17. In pores, the pores are varying till 82. There is an overlapping of hydration products and porous thickness. To bridge that gap, we have used grayscale thresholding method, through which, see here, once I apply a grayscale thresholding value, this is purely we got it from one of the other paper. If we threshold this with a grayscale value of 52, for this purpose I've used image analysis tool, Image J, which is a free image analysis tool. This image, if I threshold with the gray value of 42, I'll see an image of this kind. Okay. So I'll see an image of this kind. See the variation? So here, as you can see, if I threshold this SEM image with a gray value of 42, you're observing this way. The other parts are made it as black, so I'm just concentrating on this particular part. See here, there was a crack. You can observe that crack here also. Can you make out that difference? Okay. So that is the porous zone which I'm interested in. I have to measure the thickness of this porous zone. Some thickness is there. If you see this length, this much length is 100 micrometer, then I'm interested in identifying how much this distance is, that thickness. Okay, so that thickness comes out to be these values. This analysis we have done in image analysis tool called as Image J. Okay, so A part is so A part is image BSE image after thresholding with a gray value of 42. This, the value of 42, you can threshold with even 0, you can threshold with 10, 20, 40, even up to 56, right? Why I have selected only 42? So in one of the paper we came to know that the pores varies from 0 to maximum value of pores can be identified as 42. Through that paper reference, we started thresholding with the value of 42. And the same was maintained for all the SEM images. Right? As we are doing images, we have to be very peculiar with the magnitude that we are taking. All the SEM images were taken at a fixed magnification of 500x. And the grayscale thresholding value was 42. As you can see here, so this is 12.1 micrometer, 8 micrometers, 5. Likewise, at each difference, the red marks as you are seeing, those are the selected values, and you will come up with these values through image analysis tool, that is ImageJ. All this is image processing. We have used ImageJ analysis tool. Okay, so I'm not discussing how I did this, but we have did this using image analysis tool. So these are four different SEM images as I was spoken before. I have taken the SEM images in a clockwise direction at 12 locations. These are four representative locations. I've named it as spot 12, spot 3, spot 6, and spot 9. Those represents the time approximately. So spot 12, spot 3, spot 6, spot 9, and spot 12. Okay, so this is my steel, this is the interface, and this is my concrete. As you can see at spot 12, I've made the thresholding and I've observed the porous zone thickness this way. At spot 3, the porous zone thickness varies from this way. At spot 6, this is the variation. At spot 9, this is the variation. Right? At different variations, you can identify the porous zone thickness. So what is the use of identifying this porous zone thickness? Once you get the porous zone thickness, we can identify how much time it is required for the corrosion products to fill this much area. Right? Due to the time constraint or analysis purpose only, we have considered 12 locations. But if you increase the number of locations, your accuracy will increase. Okay. So why did I end up with only 12? There has to be some statistical value to prove that the 12 number of selection or the number 12 is best. For that we have used student t distribution factor. From that, if you measure at 12 locations and at each location, if you measure at least 22, we have measured more than 22. The values is 30 plus. So in that case, we can prove that the values that we are measuring are statistically correct. Okay, so at these four locations, and these are the porous zone thickness at those four locations. That is how we measure the porous zone thickness. Once the porous zone thickness is done, that is the first engineering property that I was trying to study. The next engineering property was hydration product. What are the hydration products which are forming at steel concrete interface? We are very curious about what kind of hydration product. Usually the hydration product is CSHL. There is calcium hydroxide, some voids, right? So these are the main three major parts of hydration product. We were curious to know what is happening or what kind of hydration product is formed at the interface. To identify what kind of hydration product is formed at interface, we have used energy dispersive spectroscopy, EDS analysis we call. Okay, so this is my steel and this is the interface of the steel. The red portion as you are seeing, so those are at 0 micrometer, very close to my steel surface, and I have started taking 20 micrometers away from the steel surface. This is how you look. For example, this is my steel surface and this is my concrete part. Very close to my steel surface, I have selected one point, and at that point you will see the chemical properties, right? What kind of ions are there? Calcium, silicon, aluminium, iron, all these, oxygen and all. Okay, so these values we obtained at different locations. For example, this is at 0 micrometers, and spectrum 2, it is at 20 micrometers, right? This is the result for spectrum 1. This is the result for spectrum 2. So for these two, what is the difference? Likewise, we have considered for 0, 20, 40 and 60 micrometers. Through this, what do I study? From this, we can identify CA by SI ratios. Okay, so what are CA by SI ratios? Through CA by SI ratio, if it is more than 1.8, I can classify that as the calcium content is more. From that, I can identify the hydration product formed here is calcium hydroxide. And also, if it is the CA by SI ratio is lesser than it's in between, if it's in between 0.8 to 1.8, I can classify that as calcium silicate hydrate. So this is given in literature part. We have selected that from the literature part. So indentation also I've seen at same locations where we have found out the hydration product. Nano indentation was also performed, but I'm not discussing this nano indentation part in this presentation today. Okay. So as I told you in previous slides, we have used two cutting tools. One is high speed cutter and another one is low speed cutter. What are its effect? What are its effect? And also we have used sample preparation techniques such as epoxy impregnation, grinding, polishing. What are all those effects on the properties of steel concrete interface that we have tried to study? So as we have seen already, so we have cut like this. So we have used two cutting tools. See, this is how we use. This is the cutting blade and this is the sample that I have used. Remember, there will be a lot of vibration while cutting the sample. So in one of the reviewer has asked us, can you quantify the hydration, can you quantify the vibration, the effect of vibration during cutting and how it is affecting our steel concrete interface properties? So for that, we have used sensors. The sensor that we have used was SW420 sensor, which is attached to the steel concrete interface like this. Then I'll cut this one. After cutting, here the vibration analysis went this way. So this is the SW420 sensor and this is the circuit diagram for it. This is how the analysis goes. This is my cutting tool, the diamond blade, 3 mm thickness for high speed cutter. This is for example of high speed cutter. For low speed cutter, the thickness was just 0.4 mm. It's very thin for low speed cutters. So once we cut, this is my RC sample. This is the X, that is the distance. Different thicknesses we have selected. 15 mm thick, 10 mm thick and 6 mm thick. For example, if I just cut very close to this, I can hardly get 1 mm thick sample also. If you imagine the Kiran coin, thickness of that Kiran coin is 15, 10 and 6 mm. Right? We have studied what is the effect of that also on engineering properties of steel concrete interface. So this is the SW420 vibration sensor. We have connected that to Arduino board and that is connected to computer. So through this arrangement, we have studied the vibration analysis. See here, this is the Arduino board. This USB cable is directly connected to my computer. So this is the SW420 vibration sensor. It is connected to Arduino board. Through Arduino board, it is connected to my computer, and here we are seeing the results. Right, the result will come here in the form of a vibration. So this is how we cut. This is a typical graph from that vibration analysis, right? So y-axis shows the strength of vibration and x-axis shows time to cut the specimen. So time to cut the specimen is in milliseconds, remember? So it took me 10 seconds to cut the sample. So this is the cutting direction. Once I start cutting here, see here, the first part of contact is A part. A part is PVC pipe. Then B part is hardener and concrete interface. The C part is top portion of the steel concrete interface. D part is bottom portion of steel concrete interface. E part is concrete and hardener interface, and F part is PVC pipe. One interesting thing we have observed here is whenever there is difference in hardness values of the material, there was a jump in the vibrations, the strength of vibration. Strength of vibration, there is no indication here. Just if the connectivity, if disconnectivity is more, as the vibration is more, then disconnectivity will be more. The disconnectivity will be shown in terms of strength of vibration, right? So A part, once I start cutting A part, so there is sudden vibration starts, and this is the magnitude of it. The strength of vibration is nearly around 6,000 to 8,000. B part, at the interface, as you go, the hardness is changing. Rapid hardener has different hardness. Concrete has a different hardness. Because of that also, there is a slight vibration, sudden increasing vibration. So when after that, there is smooth conduction and some slight noise will be there. After that, there is C part. As you see the C part, there is sudden increase in the strength of vibration. As the hardness of concrete and steel varies, because of that, the strength of vibration is more. After that, we cut only the steel part. For cutting the steel part, again it is stable or with little vibrations. At the D part, see here, D part is bottom portion of steel concrete interface. So at D part also, because of change in hardness values, there is sudden increase in the strength of vibration. So after that, there is long gap, and after that, this is E point. Again, change in hardness, EF point, and finally it ends at 10 seconds. So usually it took us around 8 seconds to cut this sample, 8 to 10 seconds. So at those 8 to seconds, we try to measure the strength of vibration. Vibration कितना होता है और vibration का effect हमारे steel concrete interface पे क्या पड़ता है, that we try to understand. So as I told you, we have selected that X part. See here, this X part, 15 mm thick, 10 mm thick, and 6 mm thick. Why did I do that? So as you see, the Kerem coin, from the top side, the laser beams will come, X-rays will come, and after that, we'll get the ACM images. As I start increasing the sample thickness, there is a chance that my sample goes and touches the electron beam. So that's why there was a restriction for us for the sample thickness. I must get as thin slice as possible. For that, we have tried with 15 mm and we started with lesser. The maximum size that I can accommodate in my SCM equipment was 15 mm. So to check whether I can, what happens if I take 10 mm and 6 mm, we have tried with 3 different thicknesses. Okay, so that 3 different thicknesses and showing effect of vibration on those 3 thicknesses. As you can see, this is A, this is 15 mm thick, this is 10 mm thick, and this is 6 mm thick. Do you observe? We have kept the scale same, 0 to 45, 0 to 45, and 0 to 45. The x-axis is slightly changing depending upon the time it took for cutting that sample. Okay. So for part A, 15 mm thick samples, these are the strength of vibration values at A, B, C, D, E, F points. These are A, B, C, D, E, F points at different interfaces. See, the strength of vibration for 15 mm samples is slightly lesser compared to 10 mm. For 10 mm, there is sudden increase at steel concrete interface here, and even in A, B, all the points. As I'm going very close, see here, very close, the vibration is increasing actually. If I cut at the center part, the vibration at interfaces is less. As I go towards the free end, this is free, that's why the vibration is more and more. Okay, so that is what we conclude from this study. You have to have at least 15 mm thick samples or larger. You can go for, if your SEM allows you to go for 20 mm, 30 mm thick samples, then that is good. But in my case, there was a restriction to go for larger thickness. So I had to restrict myself for only 15 mm. For that 15 mm also, there is some amount of vibration. Okay, but it is lesser compared to 10 mm and 6 mm. See here, for 6 mm, there is huge vibration, almost 45,000 strength of vibrations. Okay. Okay, fine. So this is for high speed cutter, strength of vibration with respect to time taken to cut 15 mm with high speed diamond saw cutter. As I told you, we have used 2 cutters for cutting the samples. One is high speed diamond saw cutter, another one is low speed diamond saw cutter. So this is the vibration study for low speed precision diamond saw cutter. Okay, so in this case, see, in previous case, the values of strength of vibration varies up to 45,000. But for slow speed cutters, the maximum value it went for us was nearly around 1500 or 1800. Okay, so see here, for 15 mm thick samples, this is the vibration chart. For 10 mm, this is the vibration chart, and for 6 mm, this is the vibration. From this, what is the inference that we are getting? As the thickness reduces, the vibration increases at steel concrete interface, which will affect the interface properties. Okay, and where did I cut? I took the samples at three locations. One is here, one is here, and one is here. So at this, there are three samples: 5 mm, 15 mm, 15 mm, 10 mm, and 6 mm. At this point, 15. Likewise, we have taken the cross sections. So this is the physical observation, or as you can say, eye observation. So eye observation, if you see the top portion part, it is for high speed cutters, and the bottom three are for low speed cutters. The A part indicates 15 mm thick sample, B part indicates 10 mm thick samples, and C part indicates 6 mm thick samples. See, the for 15 mm thick with high speed cutters, few cracks we were able to observe. For 10 mm, the crack is widening, and for 6 mm, see, lot of cracks. Okay, so same thing, if you cut the sample with low speed precision diamond saw cutter, as we have discussed, it took around 4 to 5 hours. See here in this, if you see, in this case, it is milliseconds. Hardly in 10 seconds, I was able to cut all the samples. But in slow speed cutters, it takes nearly around 4 to 5 hours to cut the sample. That's why the vibration is very, very less in slow speed cutters, right? So for that reason only, you observe pretty good steel concrete interface in low speed cutters. Even in low speed cutters also, we have chosen 15 mm thick, 10 mm thick, and 6 mm thick samples. For 15 mm thick samples, the damage is very less. For 10, there is some amount of damage, and for 6, because of little bit of heat, we could observe some micro cracks at the interface. So from this study, we concluded that we should have at least 15 mm thick samples, and we should use a slow speed diamond saw cutter for cutting the samples. Then again, as I told you, this is another parameter which we should look into for while going for resin observation. It is molding the specimen with ultra low epoxy and drying it. As you can see, I wanted these patches to look very dark in ASIM images. So that's why I have to incorporate the epoxy, ultra low epoxy, wherein it appears dark in BS images. As you can see, drying shrinkage, once I apply the ultra low viscosity epoxy, I have to dry that epoxy before I grind it. It's like a paste. If you apply it, if you put it on the top, then it goes inside the pores, and I have to dry it afterwards. So drying temperature we have selected as 90 degree, 80 degree, and 60 degree. So in 90 degree, if you see, there are few cracks that we could observe. These are called as shrinkage cracks. And even for 80 degrees also, few cracks we are able to observe. At 60 degrees Celsius, there were no shrinkage cracks, visible shrinkage cracks, even in at magnifications of 500x or 250x. So from this, we concluded that the epoxy drying temperature should be only 60 degrees Celsius. If you increase more and more, you observe some drying shrinkage cracks. So this is next step is grinding and polishing. Once the epoxy is done, I have to grind and polish it. So for grinding, we have used 3 silicon carbide papers. One is P320, P600, and P1000. Right? These are just like sand papers. On that, we have to grind it. So I have used advanced polishing machine where we can even control the pressure that you apply. Okay. Then for polishing the specimens, we have used diamond particle paste, that is 0.25 micrometer and 0.15 micrometers. Grinding duration and force also play an important role. So force is nearly 25 kilonewton that we have kept. We have tried with different forces also, that we will discuss in a bit. So this is concrete, and this is steel part. This is rapid hardener. If you grind it for just 1 minute, 1 minute on each these, so total duration time is 3 minutes. 1 minute on each, samples look like this. So if you grind it for more and more, see here, the steel surface, it is deforming. So I have to restrict my grinding duration to only 1 minute for each these silicon carbide papers. At P320, I have to grind for 1 minute, P600 1 minute, P1000 1 minute. After that, I have to use the diamond paste to clear out the few of the dust particles. Okay. So grinding duration, if you observe in those samples in SEM, this is about the pressure that we have used. We have used 35 kilonewton pressure and 25 kilonewton pressure. For example, imagine there is a base plate and there is Karen coin in you. This base plate will be moving like this, and what kind of pressure that you apply, right? That pressure is 35 kilonewton and 25 kilonewton. So that was an advanced polishing machine that we had in NIT Surathkal. So we could even control the pressure that we can apply on our samples while grinding and polishing. So we have tried with the 35 kilonewton, which was mentioned in previous papers. But for 35 kilonewton, if you see, there are a few cracks we could observe in our SEM images. And see this one, there is some distortion of a steel surface. If you could observe my cursor, there is some amount of distortion here, and few cracks are also there. Okay, that is for 35 kilonewton force. So 20, then I have reduced it to 30, and then I have reduced it to 25. See, for 25, the distortion of steel is very little, but there is some amount of steel is there. But at least I have to keep 25 kilonewton to observe best SEM images. So from this, we have concluded that the force should be 25 kilonewton and time should be at least 1 minute. Should not be more than 1 minute. Okay, now we'll discuss a few results. Effect of speed of cutting of RC samples on porous thickness of steel concrete interface. As I told you, we have used high-speed diamond saw cutter and low-speed diamond saw cutter. These are the porous thickness that we have measured. If you could remember that sample previous back, SEM images that we have measured, these are mean values of porous thickness at 12 spots. Okay, these are the mean values, and these are the standard deviation, minimum value and maximum values. So mean value plots, we try to understand what is the effect of cutting tool, high speed cutters and low speed cutters on porous thickness. If I use a high speed diamond saw cutter, see the red portion at these spots, these are the spots, spot 1, spot 2, likewise there are 12 spots. Like high speed, if I use high speed diamond saw cutter and these 25, 0, 10, 15, 20, 35, 30, 35 are porous thicknesses. These chart, we call that as a radar chart. On the radar chart, if I try to find out the porous thickness, so these are the values. At spot 1, 11.22, at spot 1, 11.22, right? For high speed diamond saw cutter at spot 1, it is 26.54. See, it is 26.54. Likewise, if we plot for all the spots, spot 1 to 12, you observe a radar chart this way. From this, what we could identify, what is the inference of this figure? As we use high speed diamond saw cutter, we are actually increasing, or there is some damage to the steel concrete interface properties, that is porous zone thickness. The porous zone thickness is increasing by we are intentionally increasing by using the high speed diamond saw cutter. That means whatever the accurate measurement is there, we are not able to find. So see, by using the low speed diamond saw cutter, we could measure the accurate, little accurate compared to, I'm not saying that it is perfect. We still have to find a perfect method to find out without cutting that material, right? So to cut the sample, I have to cut it. There is some amount of damage, but if you use low speed diamond saw cutter, the damage can be reduced to a certain extent. Okay, so from this we have concluded that you have to use a low speed diamond saw cutter for cutting the steel or reinforced concrete samples. Then we have studied the nanomechanical properties also. As you can see, some hardness values, distance from the steel surface. If I use high speed diamond saw cutter, the nature itself is like that. At the interface, the hardness is less. As you move away from the interface, the hardness is increasing. Same goes with the elastic modulus. Why it is happening? Why the nature of hardness and elastic modulus is increasing away from the interface? At the interface, there is a lot of amount of porosity. Because of that porosity, the hardness of concrete is less. Because of that, elastic modulus is also less. The black portion indicates the low speed diamond saw cutter, and with high speed diamond saw cutter, even you are reducing the hardness. Actually, it is nearly around 0.8 at the interface. The hardness is 0.8 and elastic modulus is 30 GPa. But if you use high speed cutters, you are directly reducing, or you are mismatching or misinterpreting the hardness and elastic modulus values. These hardness and elastic modulus values play an important role even in advanced studies. Okay, so for that we have to use a low speed diamond saw cutter. So in summary, what I could say, if this is your steel concrete interface and this is the sample that we use, this can be extrapolated to the field conditions also. What do we do if I want to study the service life of any bridge? Remember, in the bridges, we don't cut the reinforcement rods. That is just a slight misadvantage of this. But at least in the laboratory presentation, I can cut the steel and I try to identify what is happening to my steel concrete interface. See, this is the rapid hardener, as we can say. This is the steel part, and the epoxy coating is there. And after that, I have applied a epoxy hardener, that is Araldite. Araldite अप्लाई किया है मैंने यहाँ पे, तो बाहर के एनवायरनमेंट पे कोई कांटेक्ट नहीं रहेगा रेनफोर्समेंट का, तो करोजन नहीं होगा यहाँ पे. तो ये था, इसको मैंने यहाँ पे डाल दिया. Then I took the core looks like this. Apply the PVC pipe and rapid hardness. Use a slow speed diamond saw cutter to cut the samples. Do not use high speed diamond saw cutters. Once you use low speed diamond saw cutter, this is the sample you look like. Go for epoxy impregnation. After that, grinding and polishing. Epoxy impregnation at 60 degrees Celsius, grinding at 1 minute, and polishing at another minute. Please use less than 25 kilonewton force in grinding and polishing. So ACM images looks like this. After that, you can even go for hydration analysis also by using EDS. Okay, so this table shows what should be the sample preparation specifications. So to sample selection, desired size of concrete core along with the reinforcement bar. Along with the reinforcement bar, you have to select. The size of the core depends upon the sample holder dimensions of your ACM. This is particularly works for the laboratory samples. For the field samples, we have to go for environmental ACM or other ACMs, where the sample holder dimension is more than our regular ACMs. Okay. So the speed of that low speed diamond saw cutter can be varied from 100 to 200. If you increase more than 200 revolutions per minute, then there will be some damages induced. So if you want perfectly measured porous thickness, then you have to use 100 to 150 RPM. So our low speed diamond saw cutter was in the range of 140 to 150 revolutions per minute. And thickness of the blade was, in our case, it was 0.4 mm. You can go for even 0.5 mm in maximum condition. If you use high speed diamond saw cutters, it will significantly damage the properties of steel concrete interface. Thickness, vacuum impregnation, as we have discussed. So it is just summarized here. Now, we were interested to know what is the hydration properties, or how the hydration properties. One is obviously the porous thickness that we have understood. How do we measure? The next one is what is happening to my hydration products. Hydration products at steel concrete interface, and what is the influence of curing duration. If I cure for 15-20 more time, then what will happen? A second, please. So this is the compressive strength at different curing periods. For compressive strength, we have used different samples. For bond strength, we have used different samples. At 30 days, see OPC, PPC, PSC. OPC has highest strength at 28 days. PPC is lesser and PSC is even lesser. As the curing period increases till 1 year, this is for 360 days. We have studied till 360 days. And I'm happy to share that the PSC concrete gains strength at later point of time. If you observe at 1 year, the strength of OPC concrete is also increasing, but there is significant improvement in the PPC and PSC concrete at the age of 1 year. From this, we can say that the PPC and PAC concrete is slow in gaining the initial strength, but the later stage it beats the OPC. The major reason for this sudden increase in compressive strength is pozzolanic reactions. Same trend you can observe in bond strength also, ultimate bond strength at 28 days. The both OPC, PPC and PAC concretes have similar ultimate bond strength. As the curing period increases, 56, 90, 180 and 360, we have doubled the time. So PAC concrete achieves more bond strength compared to OPC and PAC. This is the main reason for this is PAC concrete Blain's fineness is very high compared to PPC and OPC. So that's why the finer the material, more will be the reaction, and at the steel concrete interface, PAC concrete shows better ultimate bond strength compared to OPC and PAC. So this one is curing period and what is happening to the porous zone thickness. We have discussed about this at spot 3, 6, 12, 9, and these are for OPC, PPC and PAC. So initially we have discussed that for high speed cutters and low speed cutters, and now we are discussing it for OPC, PPC and PAC. As you can see at 28 days curing, this is the radar chart for OPC, PPC and PAC. As we move to curing days 90, see all of them are reducing. What does this indicate? This indicates that the porous zone thickness is reducing as the curing period is increasing. This is one important or major finding that we can study from our research. As the curing period is increasing, the porous zone thickness is reducing. This is for 180 days, still it is reducing. Even at 360 days, it is reducing. See the reduction in porous zone thickness for PAC is higher than compared to OPC concrete, right? So this is for 28 days, 90 days, 360, 180 days and 360 days. For all of them, the porous zone thickness is reducing, but the reduction rate of PAC concrete is slightly higher than OPC concrete. So now let's move on with our EDS analysis. As I told you before, this is at spot 1, this is at spot 2. The spot 1 is at 0 micrometer distance and spot 2 is at 20 micrometer distance. Spectrum 1, this is the spectrum 1 results, and these are the elements: O, aluminum, silicon, magnesium, potassium, calcium, Fe, carbon. All of these materials we have selected. This is the chart that we get. This is EDS elemental analysis of OPC concrete at 28 days water curing. This is for spectrum 1. Likewise, we'll get one table for spectrum 2 also. See here, the silicon content is 3.18 and calcium content is 9.12. Right? So if I just do a Ca by Si ratio, what will happen? These are the values that we can get at 0 micrometer distance, at 20 micrometer distance, 40 and 60. Remember, in this case, it is for 0, this is for 20. Likewise, if we increase to 40 and 60, we will get different elemental maps. Those elemental maps are, the results of those are shown here: 0, 20, 40, 60. Here, this is for 0, 20, 40 and 60. So these were the results. Ca by Si ratios. Ca by Si ratios are 2.88, 2.64. What does this signify? 2.88, as I told you before, if Ca by Si ratio is more than 1.8, that signifies that the presence of calcium hydroxide at the interface. This is at 0 micrometer from the steel surface. At the interface, there is predominantly calcium hydroxide available. As I move away from the interface, see here, 2.88 at 0, at 20 micrometer 2.2, see directly from 2.8 to 2.2, from 20 micrometer to 40 micrometer, from 2.2 to it is 2.1, then again 60 micrometers, it is still reducing. At this point, this, as you move away from the interface, the Ca by Si ratio is reducing. What does that indicate? So this another graph we have plotted. CA by SI ratio with respect to distance from steel surface. previous previous data only 2.88 was there for OPC concrete, 20 micrometer reduced, 40 micrometer reduced, 60 micrometer reduced, and all this for OPC, PPC, and PSC. OPC is higher, PPC and PSC, it also starts reducing. One point here to observe here is CA by SI ratio for OPC is higher. That means the calcium hydroxide content at the interface of steel concrete interface is higher for OPC, lower for PPC and PSC concrete. At 28, this is for 28 days curing. At 90 days curing, all of them are reducing. See, for OPC it is 2.88, then it reduced to nearly 2.6. For this 2.4, then they are reducing also. This indicates that the calcium hydroxide content is reducing as I increase the curing period. What does that signify? It signifies that the calcium hydroxide is converting to some secondary CSHL. So that might constitute or improve the bond strength. So we are curious to know what is the effect of this on ultimate bond strength, right? So we have studied that also, the ultimate bond strength. This is for OPC, PPC and PSC. The ultimate bond strength and CA by SI ratio of steel concrete interface at 28 and 90 days of curing. These are 28 days, OPC, PPC, PSC, ultimate bond strengths. PSC and OPC are almost closer. PPC is little lesser. And these are the CA by SI ratios, 2.88, 2.45 and 2.40. As I move to 90 days, remember for same OPC it was 2.88, it reduced to 2.6. For PPC it was 2.45, it reduced to 2.14. For PSC it was 2.4 and it reduced to 2.07. Because of this reduction, there is increase in ultimate bond strength. Right? So from this we conclude that even for 180 days and 360 days, same thing, we have kept the y-axis in same direction, 24 MPa. So at 360 days, the CA by SI ratio is still reducing. Same way, the bond strength is increasing. This concludes that as the CA by SI ratio reduces, that infers that the calcium hydroxide content is reducing. Because of that, the bond strength is increasing. Same way, we have done some studies with nanomechanical properties also. As CA by SI ratio increases, CA by SI ratio increases, the hardness is increasing. As CA by SI ratio is decreasing, the hardness is increasing. Same goes with elastic modulus also. So moving on with the conclusions, what we have understood from our study. The properties of steel concrete interface, especially the porous on thickness, is sensitive to the cutting tool, which used for sample preparation. So for cutting the reinforced concrete samples, a low speed precision diamond saw cutter of speed 100 to 200 RPM is recommended. The properties of steel concrete interface were found to influenced by the water curing period also. As the curing period increases, the CA by SI ratio is decreasing. That means some amount of hydration reaction is still happening at the steel concrete interface even after curing period of up to 1 year. The reduction in mean porous on thickness was found for all three kinds of OPC concrete. The preferential formation of calcium hydroxide was confirmed through SEM images as well as EDS analysis. As curing period increased, it was found that there is a gradual reduction in CA by SI ratio, which signifies gradual reduction in calcium hydroxide from the steel surface towards the bulk concrete. Gradual increase in ultimate bond strength is observed up to 360 days because of water curing. That constitute to reduction in porous on thickness as well as reduction in CA by SI ratios at steel concrete interface. So these were a few of the references that I have selected. Thank you. So before I conclude my session, I'll briefly explain what we have done. So this was a complete, I understand this is completely research-oriented presentation. Those who are involved with this kind of work, they only understand what we have done. Imagine somebody comes and asks you, sir, can you find the service life of this bridge? Right? So how do you say? There are different methods to do that. And one important parameter in prediction of service life is porous and thickness, right? That in mathematical models, we are using porous and thickness. In our project, people in previous case, in while predicting the service life, people were assuming the porous and thickness in the range of 10 to 20 micrometers. But in our study, we have experimentally found out what is the porous and thickness, and we have concluded that it varies from different parameters. So few of the parameters we have studied kind of cement. अगर OPC यूज करते हैं, PPC यूज करते हैं, PS यूज करते हैं तो क्या होता है? Then if curing period आप increase करते हो तो क्या होता है? That is what we have studied. The major part of our study includes in this presentation I have only shown you the importance of cutting, importance of sample preparation, right? So this is one of the papers that we have published in construction and building materials. So that is what I have presented here today. So with this, I conclude my talk. I think I've come to an end to our presentation. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. From this, we could get few of the publications. We have published in ASTM International, CPM. Few of the papers are under still review. There are some Scoopus Index chapters also. So if you want, you can come and have a look at my profile. If you have any doubts, please ask. I would love to clarify them. I'll try my best to at least answer them.
Participants can ask a question to sir.
No questions? Ma'am, I'm not able to see the even chat. So if there are any questions in chat, please let me know.
Sir, there is one question: how to find out strength of existing RC structure with considering the effect of steel corrosion?
Okay, that's a nice question. So see, one part is you can go for finding out the residual capacity of bridges. As you see, because of corrosion, there will be some amount of loss. After that, there will be cracks and all. After the cracks also, we assume, as engineers, we assume that the bridge has lost its service life. But still, after that also, bridge continues to survive and the traffic will be moving. So how many years it continues to move without any repairs? That's the biggest question right now. So there my research comes into a picture. So we'll go and we'll take the core, we'll analyze what is the amount of corrosion which is happening. If it is beyond repair, we have to go for some strengthening techniques. We have to remove everything and we have to reduce the corrosion. Galvanization methods are there, all of that we can do. But for you to answer your question, you can study the residual capacity of bridges. Initially, we might have designed it for some amount of load carrying capacity. Because of this corrosion part, what is the capacity right now? So obviously, because of corrosion, there will be some reduction. There are some mathematical models also. If you want, you can contact me. I'll send those papers to you. So you can calculate the residual capacity of bridges due to corrosion. So there will be some amount of reduction. How much it is? Through some mathematical models, we can find easily. Hello. Are there any other questions, ma'am?
Hello. No, sir.
I'll stop my presentation then.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for conducting such an informative session on engineering properties of steel concrete interface. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'll leave the meeting then. Sure.
Yes, sir. फोन करा ना. Let me link